Namaste. Good morning, my lovely sparkles of light out there. I hope you've had some relaxation introduced into your lives, some elevated mindsets, shifts in identities, the releasing of attachments that don't serve you in a highest capacity for your own well-being and the well-beings of others, because if you're in a state of not being well, you also have the potentiality of sharing that energy with other people that you're in uh, contact with. Which brings us into our next video in this mini series, is energy. Now, I touched on a little bit about this, and I spoke about it in some other videos as well. Energy is going to be a popular term that I utilize. But understand, energy is a deeper component, is a deeper, the depth of energy. There's like literally no bottom to it. You just keep going, and you keep diving deeper, and your awareness and ability to think higher in the essence of energy opens up more doorways of deeper understanding, way beyond surface level ideas. Now, when I say energy, I may not have the same construct of meaning and expressions and identities of the utilization of energy as you might have, and that's completely okay. If the energy and the way that you express it, produce it, describe it, give it meaning and value is in its highest manner, that's more in alignment to your unique self. Lower vibrational assigning of value is not in your highest unique self, but might be embedded in the lower self of limiting identities. Okay. And identity, mindset, behaviors, traits, characteristics, it's all a form of energy. Okay. Sometimes it's a physical matter energy. Other times it's a non-physical matter energy, which means that others may be able to pick it up readily if you are expressing it in a physical way. But when you are speaking within or thinking within, they may not pick up the clarity of that energy, but they get a variation of that energy. And what they end up doing is kind of reflecting that energy back to you. So if you ask the question, what am I missing? Where can I send healing energy to? And you have an interaction with someone, and they bring something to your awareness. Be still and calm. Hear what they have to say, because more than likely they are sharing with you something that you are emitting out of you that you might not be aware of, in which they are providing you guidance to. Okay? Everyone has the capacity to reflect the energy that we are emitting, but we're not always in the vibrational resonance of that energy that we are emitting. So we're not always aware, and that's where vibrational resonance awareness comes from, which will be talked about later on. I tapped into a little bit with attuning, or becoming familiar with that resonance and that frequency, but it builds on top of itself. Okay, as you experience life and newness comes into your life, you're going to experience more awareness of how you are producing your energy. What excuse me, what frequency you might be in as you are producing that energy. Okay. This will require a little bit of coming back into a calm state rather than an erratic fight-flight response state. Okay. Remember, in fight and flight response, it's not the best time to do your self-work. The only reason why that is because you're not using a sound mind. You are probably using an analyzing or combative or defensive mind. Okay? That's why we always want to drop ourselves into a calm state mind. Okay? Mindful breathing, art therapy works too. Going for a quick meditative walk. And when I say quick, I just mean that it's a short duration, but you're not quick stepping the walk, okay? You are becoming one with the present moment as you are doing your walks. I like to call them meditative walks, where you are staying focused on the present moment rather than jumping monkey mind back and forth, future, past, present, and basically creating an unstable set of energy. Okay, we want to stabilize the energy. That's where we end up knowing where to go or where to direct energy to as we become more familiar with the flow of energy. Okay, now energy can be everything, and everything is energy. The material energy, non-material energy, or the energy that is not easily seen, okay? The unseen energy. They all have states of beingness, okay? They all have states of vibration. They all vibrate in a frequency in their own innateness, okay? And they behave accordingly as they are observed. So if you were to readjust your focus from zeroing in and relaxing your gaze, you may pick up more awareness of the energy around you. Sometimes it starts flowing in kind of like out of the corner of your eyes. Might be wisps of energy, clouds of energy, etc., etc. Okay? Don't analyze it. Okay? Let it be as it is. Alright? This is where you allow whatever it is in that state to represent itself as that without rendering a value of meaning to it. When you don't render a value of meaning to something, you allow it to unfold naturally. Okay? When you render a value of meaning to something, whether it's in a poor vibrational state or a high vibrational state, that becomes your embedded belief. Alright? And belief is a form of energy. Okay? It's just a non-physical form of energy. Energy can be structured. It can be solid. It can be gas. It can be liquid. It can be etheric, which basically goes along the lines of not easily picked up with the naked eye. But in a realm of its own. Let's say that. Okay? So let's look at energy a little bit more deeper. Okay? That was just a brief introduction of energy. So let's talk about matter energy. Alright? Matter energy is the physical component of energy. Alright? It's the physical representation of energy in a physical form. A table is energy. Deck railing, energy. Tree, energy. Chairs, coffee cup. It's all energy. You might identify this as a coffee cup because you have a meaning of belief of what a coffee cup should look like, what its capacity is, how it functions, etc., etc., right? You may take an action step, like I just did, and take a drink of the sustenance that's in that cup, right? It's all energy. Liquid energy can be water, can be coffee, can be tea, can be anything that you drink, right? That is safe for you to drink, okay? It could be a solid. It could be your food that you eat. High vibrational food is the solid state of matter energy, okay? Where you see it as its physical representation of the state of matter of energy in its vibrational state. Now, vibration can reduce. So the longer that you have something in a higher vibrational state that you're not using, the lower the vibrational state becomes. Okay? And the energy of that original state is now a lesser dense nutritional energy. You might still get some energy of it, but it's not in its highest form, highest vibrational form, okay? And that's what we attempt to do with our mindful eating, is to bring our body, our mind, and our heart up into a higher vibrational resonance of living, okay? That's why we use living energy for our food. But structure. Plants have their own structure, right? You plant it in some soil. Soil is energy, okay? The seed is energy. The plant is energy. But it all grows through a cycle within that energy, okay? It's an energy of cycles, right? A symbol that comes to mind right now that's flashing in my head might be the Ouroboros, where it's basically the serpent swallowing its tail. Regardless some of the mythology of beliefs that might be out there, it represents the no end, basically. Some perceive it or interpret it as the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, okay? Remember, most of everything that I talk about for your internal work is not the physical component of life, death, rebirth, okay? It's your shedding of interior layers that wasn't originally yours, but you adopted or was received from familial ties, social circles, work circles, you name it. Could even be strangers that you meet on the street or in the supermarket or whatnot. Go to a public beach, you'll probably embed yourself with other people's bubbled energy, etc., etc. You might overhear a conversation and get their idea of belief, but not realize it's coming in and being planted in your soil. And then you might speak the word, and then you give nourishment to that seed as they have spoke the word, and as you repeat that word, you keep nourishing that seed, even if it's an unfavorable seed that's been planted in your soil. And it becomes what's called your living energetic belief, okay? Which we'll talk a little bit more about that in the non-matter energy. Structure, physical component of energy, okay? I can interact with you and you can interact with me in a physical way because our physical energy is able to detect one another in a readily instantaneous way, okay? But what if I said, remove everyone from your space and it's just you? You are still able to render your energy when you have the thought of that person or idea or thing or place or circumstance. You send energy to that thing that you focus in on. Okay? It doesn't matter if it hasn't occurred yet in the physical experience. If you thought it, it has already been done. Okay? Be mindful of your thoughts. Be mindful how you think. And if your thoughts are not in the more positive minded ways, you might want to elevate the way that you think about things. Okay? Where instead of this being a cup, it's a tool. It's a resource in which I mindfully, intentionally, and purposefully create a substance for it to hold, in which it's going to serve me in a capacity that's higher because I programmed my thoughts and my heart to behave in that unity with this as a tool. Now, you might call it a dish. You might call it some other kind of descriptive term, right? But as you describe things in terms, you also have meaning expressed in those terms, okay? It's all energy, all right? Energy vies for energy. The more that you provide your attention to the thing that vies for your energy, you are sending energy to that, and it's absorbing that energy, okay? And it could be your cell phone. It can be, you could be sitting at the dinner table and it's family time and your phone goes off. And you might have that instinctive behavior pattern that every time my phone goes off, I need to look at it. That's in a component energy vying for your energy or your attention. And where your attention goes, energy flows too, okay? But state of vibration. Remember, we talked about this deck here vibrates, okay? Even though it looks solid, it appears solid, and it appears to be non-moving, it vibrates in a state of beingness, okay? It's still vibrating, and if you had a spectroscope, you would see that it's still material vibrating at a certain frequency, okay? And in that frequency, the state of which it behaves as has the capacity to reflect what you have a definitive term of energy of it. So you might have a working knowledge of what a deck looks like, how a deck is to serve, what purpose a deck is, right? So it doesn't matter if you went to a new space, you already have the working terminology and meanings expressed of what a deck is. Okay? Decks are built uniquely. Though you might go off of a blueprint and whatnot, it's still a unique structure form of energy. Okay? You are a unique structure form of energy in multi-dimensional ways. Okay? Behaves according to the conscious observer. If you thought of something and you felt it a certain way, and you're gazing at a physical representation of the person that you were thinking in the way that you were feeling, you're going to emit that energy out of you, and it's going to be reflected probably in a physical way, okay? Before any actions that you do, you have already thought them. That's why I say, if you thought it, you have already done it. So if you think yourself as an abundant being, in the state of abundance, or in the state of being vibration and frequency of abundance, you're going to attract abundance-like experiences. But if you are focused in on the lack of or belief of limitation of, you emit that energy that you have been focusing on, and, well, your experience comes in and it refines that, yeah, you have lacking beliefs. because you experience lack. It takes a simple state of transmuting just by release or elevating, where you transmute the state of belief of which you hold of lack into abundance. All right, and that we'll get into a little bit later of how you can transmute your limiting beliefs into beliefs that work in your favor. Okay. When you observe something, it behaves as you're observing it. But when you turn away, it no longer is consciously being observed. So it behaves in its original state. You ever notice that something accidentally cracks itself? Nobody's around, but a cup breaks itself. It's not that you have entities or ghosts in your house. It's that it exceeded the state of beingness of what it was, okay, when not being consciously observed. Your energy maintains its stability, okay? Non-matter energy, okay? This is going to flip the script on some of the beliefs that you have about energy in non-matter or non-physical perceivable energy, okay? Meaning with your physical senses, you do not detect the energy. But with your inner senses of those 5 primordial senses, yes, you have, just as you have physical senses, you have internal senses of those same calibrations, but you perceive it in a different way, okay? When you use your inner senses, you're shutting yourself off to external environment, and you're going into basically your prayer closet or your inside, all right? You bring your awareness or your gaze, you shut down your eyes, kind of close out the surrounding sounds around you, and that will take some practice with meditation to kind of like close out the surrounding distractions. You might use sound canceling headphones to help with that. And as you bring your awareness back into your body, you become more aware of the energy that you are producing, and you can scan your body without a physical scanner. You use your awareness as a scanner throughout your body, and when something grabs your attention on your body, that's where you can send energy to. It doesn't matter why it's there or what led to the component of it being there. You can send energy to it, okay? And energy will go to the root source of that thing. And however long you've been consuming that energy or you've been thinking in that capacity, it may take a little bit of gradual time to uproot that thing, because remember, experience is always coming in. It doesn't stop coming in just because a more bigger experience hasn't come in. Okay, every second of the day you are experiencing life, which means every second of the day life energy experiences are coming in to your experience. Okay, non-matter energy, your mind space inside, your in-tone words, your in-tone thoughts, your ability to hear within yourself. And you might think at first that you're talking to yourself, but really it's your inner dialogue where you can hear, but no one else can hear the sound being produced within you, okay? Until you bring it out of you, all right? Until you produce it in your physical vocal way. It stays within, all right? Your heart center. This is the centrifugal of energy that many people close off at an earlier stage in life, because it's where most of your uniqueness is that the world was not yet ready to receive you as. And so they tried to shape and mold you, make you put that back into a box, and for lack of a better word, enslave you into what they wanted you to be as. Behave a certain way, speak a certain way, think a certain way, be active in a certain way. Okay? Some, you might have had people, familial ties or social circles that tells you to not show emotions. And so you might have put a block on your emotions because you're around people and for some sense you want an acceptability or appreciation for your existence in their life. And you saw value in them. You just didn't understand the value in them and how their capacity to not receive you and your unique self was complementary. So you shifted and put a block in a certain aspect, but it leaks out. And when I say it leaks out, it means that you could still show love or express love, but you might express love not you might not express love in its fullest content around those persons. So when those persons are gone, you're allowed to bring out your unique self and express love in its fullest to anyone, anything, any place, any passion that you might have, until those people might come in and then you shut down again. And you've taught yourself that every time they come in, shut down. And so it became a behavior pattern. And you ended up putting them, we call them blocks. Blocks of your unique expression. And each one of us is an expression of the one. Okay? And the best way to put that into energetic understanding terms, and I hope this gets resonated into your soil, but it's okay if you don't understand right now. It will reveal itself as it does, okay? But your energy is your energy, and you can choose who you give it to and in what manner you give that energy out. And with an understanding that all energy that is produced out of you flows back into you, into your experiences, through people, through places, through events, through circumstances, etc., okay? The energy that is produced towards you from other people, you have the capacity to say, no, I don't want that energy. You can keep that energy. That is not my energy. That is your energy. Or they may not even think it's their energy and they're trying to get rid of it, and they think the best way to get rid of it is by pushing it on to somebody else. Okay? That doesn't solve the problem. Okay? The manner of which you thought that produced the problem or as a challenge is not going to be the same manner of thought that is going to solve that. Okay? The unseen energy that's around you. Some people with an acuteness for a higher vibrational of awareness in perceiving the unseen may pick up on things called auras. You might have a glow around you in a certain capacity, and they have trained their awareness to be perceptive of that aura, and they might give you a couple ideas of, hey, you seem to be a little not your normal self, you know? Or they might be like, you seem really bubbly and bright today. It's not that your skin is bright, which it can still emit light through your skin and stuff, and your derma, and have a higher glow. And I'm not talking about bronzer, I'm not talking about chemicals, okay? Your natural glow. But they have trained themselves in a disciplined way throughout every single day to focus their attention on that space that is not typically seen. And as they continue to produce and cultivate that vibration of awareness, it produced itself into the form of perceptibility. Okay, all energy can be changed from one state to another. Energy is never destroyed; it just changes from one state to another, transforms, transmutes. Can change it from a state of liquid to a state of gas, or a state of solid to a state of powder, etc., etc. You know, energy is not still. Energy is constantly moving, but at different vibrational frequencies. Okay. Um, the aura is usually like about 2 to 3 inches from the body. Okay, that's your immediate energy field. But your actual energy bubble field extends 6 to 8 feet, possibly even further. The more that you expand your awareness, okay, the more you expand your energy field. Sometimes we close that energy field because we might not be received in the way that we were hoping to be received, and something was stated and it resonated with us, and I don't like the feeling of that resonation, so I crafted a meaning of understanding and value of that. So the best way to solve that is to close myself off. That's not the positive way of thinking. The best way to solve that is that if you are not being received for your unique self, find like-minded social group that reinforces celebrating your uniqueness, okay? That encourages elevating yourself, bringing your awareness into a higher vibrational state, okay? Unseen energy affects matter energy, okay? And when I say that, what you are thinking, what you are feeling, what you are internally resonating with affects outside energy, the external environment. So how you think, how you feel, how you believe inside is going to be a direct reflection from your external environment, okay? Because your external environment is only reflecting what you hold to be true within yourself, even if it's not in its highest true state, okay? It might be in a low true state, which means that it was a low belief that was refined through experiences, nurtured that seed to be that low vibrational belief, okay? Your inner sensory. When you close your eyes and basically just remain present in the moment, all right? You open yourself up to your inner sensory aspects. What your inner sensory components and aspects are, I could not tell you until you brought it out of you to say, this is how I sense things, or how I perceive things, how I am able to imagine things in a crystal clear view, okay? And there are special categories of people that have dedicated their lives to cultivating and refining specific energetic frequencies, and they get a title. And some of those titles might be Master Reiki Practitioner, who, even though they receive the certification and title as Master, they do not stop doing Reiki on themselves or providing Reiki as a gift or an exchange of services to other persons, okay? Tai Chi. A Master Tai Chi or martial artists might devote their life experiences to focusing on their discipline, okay? And they might spend several hours a day in that discipline, cultivating experience, cultivating refinement of that experience, and applying their own unique philosophy to what they experience. And they might write it down and share it with someone else. And that's how you get the title of teaching or master, sensei, coach, in which you are in a position where you are sharing your experiences and certain techniques and skills that work for you that brought you up into that frequency or that state of well-beingness and refined it acutely, basically. But remember, just because one modality worked for that person and they give you insight of what they did to get to the state that they were at, doesn't mean that it's a one shoe fits all, okay? Because we are all unique, and that's the whole point of experiencing life, is experiencing life uniquely to your unique self. And the more that you come in resonance of your unique self, your passions, your the things that drive your heart to pump, okay, that compass in your chest that beats will guide you through the things that is your unique self and your unique passions, your unique interests, okay? And then you just share it in whichever platform you share it. You could share it on Facebook, you could share it on Instagram, you could share it on TikTok, you could share it on, and these are just social media platforms. You can host a workshop or provide a seminar, meet with people one-on-one, group settings. You could do business coaching, you could do life transformational coaching, etc., etc. And I'm only speaking of these because this is the vibrational of alignment that I am in, but it doesn't mean that because I am in this that you should replicate the same thing. You should lean into your uniqueness, your unique passions. Maybe you want to create something that serves as a tool or a resource for another person in that category. So maybe you're not a firefighter, but you're creating products so that a firefighter can do their job more efficiently. You know what I mean? Same thing with art and jewelry, yoga mats. Yoga mats wasn't specifically created just for yogis. It might be an exercise mat, or you might use a yoga mat for Tai Chi. You might use food. You learn how to cook, right? That's the basic foundation, learning how to cook. Then you level yourself up in that energetic field of cooking, and you gain experience. You taste the product to determine the flavor profile, etc., etc. What does it look like? How does it sound while I'm creating it? And you serve it, okay? When you serve food in the highest love capacity, placing it on the table, even if someone doesn't agree with the taste or might agree with how it's put together because they might have some kind of limited reservations about this and that because it's not known to them, it's new to them, they may experience it and they might give you positive feedback. Do not take the positive feedback that they're giving you or critical feedback that they might be giving you as an indication that I should stop doing this, but rather utilize it as a tool to refine your craft, okay? I appreciate your input. I understand that you are unique and you have your own perspective of what sounds like a good combination. Thank you for trying the meal. Thank you for telling me that it tasted great, but it's could use some tweaking. And in that context of information, as long as you're not in a combative, protect myself, defend myself, etc., but you are open to the information, use it as a tool to refine your discipline. If you want to be a chef, be a chef. If you want to be a nutritionally minded person that's serving meals, be a nutritionally minded person serving meals. You might need some resources. You might need to do some due diligence and cultivate a knowingness, a basic knowingness of what does this herb do? What does this season do? How, oh, you're facing a complication with your physiological self, right? Having poor blood circulation, or having heart problems, having stomach problems, etc. You can look up spices and herbs that you could put in your meals that directly influence or promote your body to kick in a more healthier way, to move out those state of cells of beingness that no longer serve you. You know, people ask, well, how do I get a flatter tummy? How do I get stronger abs? It starts in the kitchen. What are you eating? What are you drinking? Are you being absent-minded when you are eating something? Are you being absent-minded when you pour yourself a drink? Why are you eating? What purpose does the eating do for you? And what goal do you want to get out of eating? Align your goals. Align your food with your goals. This I probably should not really have. Let me treat this as a once in a while treat. Okay? And that's where you say, okay, you know, I still like this, but it's not going to be my everyday form of sustenance. You know what I mean? And you can make gradual changes, and as you make those gradual changes in your food intake, you become more aware of how that food works in harmony with your body or works against your body. Okay? And that's just components of energy that you absorb and you cultivate, whether you use your physical body or you use your thought power, whether you use your emotional power, and you cultivate it into actionable steps, and you produce a result. What next? You have to test the result. Okay? You're a little scientist. You proposed a theory. You had a problem that was there. So let me theorize by doing some research on active components of natural provided resources and how they work in harmony or bring up the balance in your body into a more well-being state. How can I introduce these into this meal or that meal? Or maybe you have a favorite meal, but it's not in the highest nutritional scale. So you might look at the ingredients on that list and change a few things, or substitute this and substitute that for the higher vibrational ingredient and place it into your ingredient list, and continue following through the process, etc. And then you test it. What's this taste like? How is my body responding to it? And sometimes it will be within moments. Sometimes it will take the 30 to 40 minutes of it being processed through your stomach and being dispersed throughout your body, etc. Now what are you doing with that energy? I've eaten. What do I do with this energy that I have just consumed? Do I sit on my couch after eating? Or should I get up and utilize this energy for something else? Remember, all energy that is not used by your body becomes stored energy. But if the stored energy is not being utilized and you're adding another meal on top of it, it's going to use that newness, because the body loves the higher vibrational stuff, right? It's going to use that newness instead of the reserved, stored energy. Okay, so we get up, go for a walk, We might go to the gym. We may do some meditation practices. If you can imagine yourself in a meditative, if you're in a meditative state and you can imagine yourself doing a physical routine, even if you are unable to physically because of an ailment or an injury or a handicap component, you can think yourself doing the activity, and the subconscious mind receives that information and delivers the result through your body. So yes, you can think yourself well, and your body will move into alignment with that, as long as you maintain the vibration of the same thought of I am well, or I think myself well, and as I think, so I am. And when you repeat that and repeat that, your body now gets the behavior component to be well, because it's had that practice, and it's had that word, it's had that nourishment of energy, and now it behaves in alignment to your belief that I am well. But the moment that you shift your present now awareness to what was, meaning a previous state of beingness, you reintroduce that previous state of beingness, and I am well now gets replaced with I am not well. See how you change the state of beingness. I am well, higher vibration. I am not well, lower vibration. If you stay in that vibration and you keep repeating that, you're going to stay in that state of beingness. If you shift your energy into I am well, regardless what my physical representation says, I command myself to be well, and I think myself well, so therefore I am well. And you maintain that as your focus, and you send your energy to that focus, you will be well. Plain and simple. But you start analyzing yourself. You start trying to use logic and deduction, reasoning, to determine if you are well, and then you posed a question, am I well? So now you gave your subconscious mind the potential power to shift into your external environment. Experiences come in to question, are you well? But rather, instead of questioning, give the statement, I am well. Statement is the state of being of which you desire to be at. When you shift how you use your words in a more mindful way, you produce the energy, and the energy comes back in. And your body will come up into resonance with that which you have produced as thought and statement. Okay? That is non-matter energy. All right? You can use components of external environment as tools, even teaching yourself of energy. But non-matter energy takes place inside. All changes that take place inside are reflected outside. Any changes that are changed outside of you does not change what is inside of you. You have to do the inner work, okay? This is why I say that I can't fix you. I can give you the tools and resources to determine if you feel like there is something that can be fixed within you, or you feel like there is something that you could change within you and you are willing to do so. If I were to tell you to change something within you, you probably wouldn't want to do so, because it's not you telling you to make the change, but rather someone else telling you to make the change. And I might pick up on the vibration that I see the change because I had told you the change, and your body aligned with that, and you agreed or you accepted that energy to come in to align with it. So in my perspective or my perception, will remember the conscious observer effect. You will look well to me, but you might feel unwell to you. So when you make the internal change within yourself, you align your inner self to be well, and you come back to me and say, I am well. I will see that you are well, because I am now reflecting your statement of belief that you are well. And so I will see you are well. See how that works? Direction of energy. Your hands, your physical component hands, has the capacity to send and receive energy. Just like if you're shaking someone's hand, okay? You are exchanging energetic messages before a word is even expressed, okay? Thought was there. Let me shake his hand because this is what we do when we meet one another. We greet one another with shaking hands. They used to raise their visor. You'll find this in the military as a salute. I do have military terms and I do have military experience, so you'll probably get some military jargon. But they were to show that they were not in a combative state. They were to present themselves as going past one another without any hostility. Okay? As you change your demeanor, your state of being, you change how you vibrate. You change the frequency of which you are in. Okay? Direction of energy. I felt something weird on my knee. I'm going to take my hand and internally I am going to imagine energy flowing down within me to that location. And I'm going to maintain the focus of the energy within me going to it. And I'm going to maintain the energy focus of it coming out of my hand to that location. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to think anything about it. In the case of deducing it, is it getting better, etc., etc. I'm just going to let it do its job. When you take your focus off of the state of beingness, you allow your energy to do its job. When you bring your focus back to that state of beingness, it stops. It puts a block. That's why Reiki energy goes to the source below conscious awareness into whatever is ailing you. Okay? If you come to me and say, hey, this is what I'm feeling and this is what I've been classified with, cool. Those are titles, those are identities. Let's address the identities by inviting Reiki to do the job of addressing the identities of the state of beingness of which you are physically expressing. Okay, your body is expressing. When we allow Reiki to do its job, Reiki will do its job. Reiki is intelligent force, okay? It knows where it needs to go. I don't have to tell it to go specifically do this, do that, do this, etc., etc. I am now taking the infinite intelligence and curbing it and trying to say I can do better in my carnal mind, thinking I can do better. And the problem is that little ego self will jump in there and be like, I don't feel anything. Nothing's happening. It's not getting well. And I keep looking at it. I'm looking at it. Day 3, I'm looking at it. It's still there. Stop looking at it. Let energy go to it. If you have to, cover it up with a ace bandage or gauze or etc., etc. And forget that it even was there. When you forget that it was there, energy goes to that thing and heals it. The more you bring your awareness back to it and recall the state of beingness that it was in, and recall the feeling, the resonance of what you were feeling in the moment that that experience came in, you bring it back into that original state of beingness. So, in health and wellness, we gear our thoughts to higher-minded thoughts. We produce our energy with intention to go to the source of wherever we are feeling unwellness, whether it's a large unwellness or whether it's a small, minute unwellness that's under the layer but doesn't show an outside physical component, okay? This is where doctors can come in and help you with running scans. Ask a doctor, where is it at? Don't ask a doctor what it is, because the doctor will answer you, and you will receive an identity of the thing. And as you receive that information, you allow that information to come in, it becomes a part of your identity. Okay? And in that identity, it's a little bit harder to shed that when someone gives you an identity. Okay? So instead of asking, what do I have? Ask them, where is the problem at? And just stop there. A lot of times you'll meet a doctor and they'll have doctor jargon and stuff. Dr. So-and-so, please do not use medical jargon, because it's going to encourage me to go and look up medical jargon, and it's going to reinforce my state of beingness. Can you just tell me where the problem is at? And then I will take it from there. This is you taking responsibility for your own wellness. Okay? This is not you playing doctor over someone else. Okay? Remember, you only have power over your own self. When you emit power to someone else, and if they're open and allowing, they will receive. But they're getting a lot more than just that. They're getting the whole gift that is part of you. And that part of you goes through them. So you could put a block up and say, I allow the high positive energy that is coming out of this experience to flow into my life. And out of this experience, only the highest vibrational experiences come out of it. All lower vibrational components are not welcome. Plain and simple. Easy as that. Okay? The things that are meant to come in, the things that are meant to make you that are to come in where you end up feeling unwell, or you're exhibiting unwell signs, like you're getting a runny nose, you might have inflammation, you might feel warm in the forehead. Your body is literally breaking down the components of your cells to do its innate job to flush those cells out. Okay? When you start going into alarm and panic, you go into fight and flight. The best option for you is to go into rest, relaxed state. Breathe. Bring it down. Release. Until you are in the state of relaxed, calm, neutrality. Okay? Then direct energy in the highest mindset to wherever that location is that you were told where the problem is at. Okay? Not all problems are physical. Some problems are going to be mental. Some problems are going to be emotional. Okay? Direct energy to all of the components of your body. Okay? I allow energy, I allow my innate capacity of self-healing to activate, and I allow the energy to flow to my mind and all the components of my mind, to my body and all of the components of my body, to my heart, which is my emotional center, and all of the components of my emotional center, and, yes, that's right, my spiritual body, because spiritual bodies can take on lower vibrational energy as well and attach to it. Okay? You want to make sure holistically you are serving every portion of your multi-bodied self and your energetic field, because even though you might cleanse the inside of the cup and the outside of the cup is going to reflect that, you may still have lingering fragments of energy that hasn't been addressed. And every time you breathe in energy. Every time you release out, you release used energy. Okay? So be mindful of how you're breathing your energy in. Focus your breath in. I breathe in new, renewable, clean energy in its highest vibrational state. And I draw it within myself, in my vessel, in my temple, in my cup, in my body. Whatever term you want to use to mean the inside of you. Bring it down to your diaphragm. Let it permeate for a little bit. Out of this exhale, I release all energy that does not serve me in the highest capacity for my highest good and the highest good of others that I may interact with. Okay? This is you taking conscious effort and awareness that you will have the potentiality of your power to influence your external environment. All right? Where your attention is, energy is directing. We talked about this. You can emit energy in a direction. Do not emit energy in a combative state towards someone, because you will get the reflection back to them, because they have just as much right to protect themselves. And if they feel like they're being put into a state of fight and flight, they're going to reflect back to you, and you're going to have this volley back and forth of energy that you're not physically aware of or seeing, but is taking place. That's the non-matter energy that happens between in the space that's unseen. Okay? Energy flows omnidirectional. Okay? So your energy, presuming that if you look at yourself, okay, and all around you is directional arrows going in and coming out, okay, or coming out, going in, all right? Flow of energy is omnidirectional. Above, below, as above, so below. As within, so without. Your outside energy, right? Energy flows omnidirectional, all right? When you take a conscious effort and awareness of mindfulness of your energy, you can focus the energy and direct it to a specific location. If it's your energy and your body, which you have domain over, you can direct anywhere in your body or your energy field for energy to go, to clear it, cleanse it, release any energy that does not serve you. I noticed that it's a little bit humid out, because I'm noticing that my body is elevated in vibration and is releasing through the sweat glands any energy that's no longer usable. Okay? Domains of energy: physical plane, mental plane, emotional plane, spiritual plane, causal plane, which is the energy coming in that other people are providing you that you may not be aware of, and their beliefs, etc., etc. And then there's the energetic biofield plane, which people will call this the universal field or dome. The universal field